Can you hear me? Waiting to hear you. It's on
He's
mute.
still muted. He needs to unmute.
Unmute your
Thank you.
mic.
There
Can you
you
hear me
go.
now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There you go.
got you now, Greg. And have you used Zoom before as far as sharing your screen, the green box?
Yeah, I see it now. Yeah,
Okay.
just touching on that shaman thing.
Yeah,
I
go
was
ahead.
someone tried to take my name, stock shaman, on World of Warcraft there, and I had to go hire somebody to get rid of him.
Seriously?
Well,
There can be only one stock shaman.
all right. I believe that. So I'm looking for like metaphysical trades here today. So if you go ahead and share your screen, Greg,
Okay.
we could get going. And I like to start off, Greg, with learning a little bit about our guests and the journey they had to get from point A to point B, B being where you are now. And I'm just guessing. Still, I'm not seeing your screen yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You click the green box and then it asks you for the screen. But knowing your geography and where you're from, can I say that I'm not surprised that you're interested in minerals, being from the Vancouver area? Is that correct?
That's correct. You are sharing the screen, so can you
Yeah,
see
you
my?
got it. Yeah, I
All
see
right.
Google. I see your.
All right, here we go. Yeah, no, I've
Okay.
I entered the business in the equity sector back in the old Vancouver Stock Exchange days, about 1985,
Okay.
and it was a much different landscape back then. It was all phone jocks, hired yaks.
Yeah.
A lot of face-to-face meetings. Things. I guess here we are now, and you can see the dramatic change.
Yeah.
It's
Were you
only
on the
been
floor? Did you ever work at the exchange?
no, no, but all my friends were the traders.
Okay.
You know,
All right. Yeah.
we had a real community back then, and then there was an Alberta Stock Exchange, or the Calgary Stock Exchange, whichever you want to call it. And then later on, that the VSE and the Calgary Exchange merged to form the CDNX. And
Okay.
then in the final phase of that genre, to save the Toronto Stock Exchange, the TSX bought the CDNX, which is
Okay.
an interesting story.
Well, yeah.
Really
Vancouver had a rep for a lot of gold companies. Wasn't Bre-X traded on Vancouver?
No, it was that was on the Calgary Exchange.
Oh, okay. But a lot of barracudas. It was a very high risk type of exchange. The issues that were able to be listed there were fairly high risk. A lot of junior miners and so forth, right?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of junior miners. It's a risk reward market.
Okay.
High risk, high reward.
Okay.
I don't know what the odds are now. I think that with recent advents in technology, a junior miner has an odds somewhere around, I would comfortably say 500 to 1 to finding a mine. It's still to this day not easy to go out there, prospect, find a property, raise the money, do all the technology. You bring in all kinds of different technology, different scanning technologies.
Okay.
And then you're coming down, and now drilling's turned to can be quite pricey. So you raise the money, you raise $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, and you take your shot. And if you don't hit, then everybody hates you. But mind you have been 2 feet away from the motherlode.
Yeah.
So it's a trying. It's not for it's high risk, and then therefore high reward.
Right. All right. Well, why don't we just move to the chart that you have here, buddy? And I've seen this chart before.
Okay, this is my recent. This isn't the most recent rendition, but this is the S&P in relationship to commodities, and you can see this one only goes to I think it's 2018. But trust me when I say we're way down here. it's a glaringly obvious situation. I think you folks were covering it before. You know, we've got the just a ridiculously bought up market on the Dow and the Nasdaq, and it's a flight to fancy. All investors are piling into those indexes, buying the FANGs, your Teslas, and it's they're riding a never-ending rainbow of profits. Some people this year probably made upwards to 40% profit just trading the big board.
Right.
And it draws a lot of all that is drawing a lot of attention away from the resource sector. Right now, you know, we've been in a 10-year bear market. Last time gold was up to it made its last high. It was back in about 2010.
Okay. Yeah, gold peaked in 2011.
2010, 2011.
Yeah. Okay.
And so did the TSX Venture Index. There's in Canada we have the Toronto Stock Exchange, we have the CSE, another speculative venture market. There was a lot of pot deals there, and of course the TSX Venture. The TSX Ventures Index back in at that time was about 2,100 on our index, and the TSX Venture Index, and presently we're at 740, which is glaringly oxymoron. It doesn't make sense. Last time we saw $1,800 on gold, the TSX Venture was trading at 2,100. Here we are, same price, 10 years later. Again, probably the longest bear market we've ever seen. We're at 740. So there's a lot of value to be bought, a value in these companies, some of them are producing, some of them are just exploring. There's a lot of value that has yet to be unleashed. You know, you can almost look like the whole index could quite easily triple from here. And again, that goes to that lends itself to the vacuum that's been formed by the run up on the Dow and the S&P and the Nasdaq. It's, you know, then the risk off trade, the riskier traders seem to be piling into the never ending spiral upwards of the Bitcoin, etc. And which reminds me a lot of the time when it reminds me of that time back here in 98. What I'm circling here, that's the dot-com era. And
Right.
when the dot-com bubble burst, you can see the resource gold at that time was just under $300. It was right under $300. And right after that point, that's where gold shot up to, not on this chart, sure, but from that point here, when the dot-com bubble burst, gold went from 300 to 800 in literally months. And of course, then we had the crash there in 08. And from that point, gold shot up to 1,800, and we had like 2,100 on our index. And everything was great, and it was never going to change. And we were in a new era for the miners, and that was not the case. We, unfortunately, have sank down to where we are now, and which is an opportunity. You know, people say, "Hey, it's down," but you know, if you buy low, sell high, you're gonna you know, take a profit when you got a profit. Nobody gets hurt.
Yeah, well, I mean, the shares, certainly the ones I follow, certainly aren't as cheap as this chart would represent. And gold did make a new all-time high. One of the few commodities that has made a new all-time high. Silver is still way off from its $50 high. A lot of attention, a lot of funds are moving into agricultural type commodities now, Greg. You look at the bean chart, and having been a broker in Chicago, that used to be a war cry from the Board of Trade, Chicago Board of Trade, beans in the teens. And that looks viable. You know, there aren't many metals that are digestible. You can't eat, you know, copper, gold, or silver. Are you paying attention to some of these markets that people need to exist because they're food products?
I haven't. I haven't myself. I'm sorry to say. I noticed that the pork price. Someone reading a story about pork prices getting strong. Is that the case? We got some strong pork belly
Well,
action.
I can't answer that because it's not kosher.
Oh, excuse me.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, I mean all meat prices, but grain prices, you know, you have beans trading almost $12 from $8, and corn and
Coffee.
wheat, coffee, yeah, sugar. So yeah, like you know, when we were around in the '70s, you're getting a lot of different commodity markets that are starting to show a heartbeat and already in the move. So global metal. You know, I've seen a lot of things talking about lithium. Do you trade like lithium stocks?
There's a well, we got Elon Musk.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Possibly. Well, I think. Well, he's admitted to me on Twitter that he was an alien. That's only because his mom pointed that out to him. Because he came from South Africa, went to Toronto, and then he was living in California. It was literally an illegal alien. But
yeah,
Elon's driven in his company, and well, I think the UN and all our friends at Davos there are are leaning that we want to, clean up the environment, make the air a little bit better, hopefully reduce CO2 emissions and maybe methane emissions, and the magic answer to that is electric vehicles. You've
right.
got a situation in Norway. We're down to like 4 years before you can't buy a car there, like an ICE vehicle, internal combustion engine vehicle. 2030 in Germany. Similar thing coming down in England. I know that Paris, London, and a variety of German cities are pushing for no no gas vehicles in the city at all. So this is if you've been following the Great Reset from our friends at Davos, their World Economic Forum. Sorry, it's they've been talking about this. First, it's a great reset. Now it's a great green reset. You've seen your president in waiting, Mr. Biden, is planning a $7.3 trillion uh,
Yeah,
stimulus. The bulk of
yeah,
it is a lot of it talking about basically doing away with what I read, doing away with oil and bringing in an age of electric vehicles, electric transportation, say.
right.
And
What about for producing electricity? You know, copper very important, but
yeah,
I've talked to some analysts that are very bullish uranium stocks
I've been
because of
I've been
nuclear
very bullish.
reactors. Yeah,
Yeah, I've been in the sector a lot of times. To be frank, to your listeners and yourself, it's always a panic mode in the element sector, or I would refer to it as the element du jour. Um, Back, what's now 10, 12 years ago, you could have bought a pound of yellow cake or uranium for $9. And then it shoots to $100. And so everybody and their great aunt rushes in there, firing up all these uranium deals. Some of them hadn't been dusted off since the 50s, back in the Cold War. And we had one heck of a market for the uranium sector. The tsunami in Japan
right,
literally doused out that fire.
right,
But the smart money, or I wouldn't say smart money, but the intelligent people should not fear nuclear reactors. The sad thing about them is they're old and they need to be decommissioned. The technology we have now vastly improved from the 50s.
right.
You got Rolls Royce is I'm thinking it's Rolls-Royce in England is building a fleet of mini nukes that sort of blend into the countryside. So instead of having one massive series of cooling towers and centralized electricity production, that was the problem in Japan. Is that wasn't just one nuclear reactor? That was a nuclear reactor farm. I think they had about 3 or 4 reactors there. When they couldn't get the water to one, then well, it was a chain reaction. Literally,
Right.
they all sort of blew up. The new technology does away with that whole meltdown thing. And
Okay.
as you're quite
Interesting.
right, you don't see it, but countries around the world, India, big, China, even bigger. They're building these reactors. They're going to be coming online here. The demand's going to increase significantly. I think I have a chart here. I'll bring up.
And I also, Greg, I went to your Twitter feed and you were addressing rare earth minerals, which, China kind of has a chokehold on a lot of them. And are there any in this hemisphere that, could be rare earth plays that you're looking at? Rare earth mineral plays.
Yeah, in this, well, you've got a Mountain Pass. The Mountain Pass mine just did I'm going to see it F.A.C.E deal in the New York Stock Exchange. They got listed. I guess what I used to call blind. Yeah, what I used to call blind pool, but
Right.
They're listed there. I have a lot of friends and investors. Actually, have a lot of shareholders from different investors at different companies I work for. They work at the Mountain Pass. And this is at the Nevada-California border. It's on the California side. It's a rare earth mine. Now they mine the ore there and they put it in what they call super bags, which I think is about a flatbed train load of ore, and then they put that on. Well, it goes on a train, goes to the Pacific Ocean, goes across the Pacific Ocean, gets on another train, and goes to Inner Mongolia for processing. So, even though that is the only producing mine in North America, and it's still not producing the specific elements. There's a half dozen or more rare earth elements in that ore that have to be separated, and the amount of solvents that's necessary to segregate them into separate uridium, cerium, or dysphorium, whichever one you want to separate out, has in the case of Inner Mongolia caused a significant natural disaster with having an inversion layer there, and the acids and the solvents didn't dispel into or move anywhere out of the area, and basically destroyed all the vegetation. It's not a pretty business.
Yeah.
It is, and I have a hobby, and that's making graphene and graphene oxide, and my bent is finding a methodology to make a submolecular sieve that would say you got a solution with a whole bunch of rare earths, and you put this coffee filter in, and then through that coffee filter will only go one specific rare earth. So this is something I'm working on. I have a little lab here at home, a material science lab, nothing nuclear.
Okay, so what are you trying to create, Greg?
It's I'm well on my way. It's a methodology to do away with the necessity. Well, basically, nobody's making rare earths but the Chinese. There's some small operations that are doing it in Europe, but again, the Mountain Pass mine and my friends there, they've sent me samples for me to test. Is to catch the specific element, the specific and do away with the solvents. So that's the gist of it. It's an ongoing process.
All right, so you're looking for a new methodology for extraction of these minerals.
Yes.
Okay.
It's quite established what I'm doing. It's just it's a hit and miss. It's science. There's no straight path or everybody would be doing it. But you're quite right about uranium. We're still about $29 a pound here right now. No one's getting out of bed at $29 a pound. That's the you want to hit the bid and you want to buy some today price. Most of the uranium is sold on a contract basis. The last contract price that I saw was a Chinese firm buying from an Australian firm at $70 a pound. So there's a big discrepancy between 30 or 29 and 70. So so that just tells you that, and this is
it's a liquid.
It's not tight enough. It's one thing.
It's a liquid.
The long story short, so our friend Putin there, he bought from one of his buddies all the potash and privatized for Russia all their potash. And that guy, and I can't remember his name, sorry. That gentleman, I think he owns one or two European professional soccer teams. Anyways, he made a lot of money. So he took that money and he went into Kazakhstan and bought up all the uranium, bought the big uranium producer there, which is all fine and dandy. And some of you folks out there that might have followed the Uranium One scandal. This is the same time. So the guy goes and he takes his score from Putin from selling his potash mines, goes into uranium, buys the Kazakhstan thing. And we didn't know this until literally 18 months ago. And this a decade's gone by. But what the guy had been doing was he was selling uranium from the company he bought at whatever price. He didn't care because the company was a private company, and he just basically, there was a bid there and he had uranium, he filled it. So he crashed. It wasn't so much the tsunami that crashed. They crashed the uranium market down to the prices we're looking at now. It was this guy. And he
one of our attendees is saying it was Abramovich.
Thank you very much. That's right. So we didn't know all this until that same company wanted to go listed on one of the British exchanges, and they had to do the disclosure. But then we also find out that the guy's got they're looking for him. I think he's been convicted in absentee in Russia and in England, and I think he's living in the south of France. Last I heard, but he single-handedly destroyed the uranium sector by flooding the market with cheap uranium in the form of yellow cake. So there's something that maybe some people don't follow. So there's the other side. That's the avarice of it all. Here's the market's excuse me, has to clean itself up from that point on, and we're still at that place. So that's why you have this huge gap between the spot price and the contract price.
Okay. I just want to wrap it with one more question. I've interviewed some guys, and conservative silver bulls are looking for 50 again to be taken out, but there are actually some super cycle people that think it could trade at several $100 an ounce. What would you say to that?
Well, what I say in general is that like all the big indexes are flying higher than my opinion they should be. The PEs and cash flow per share ratios are just, what's that? I don't think people even use those terms. But it's going to come to roost. We're going to the Bitcoin and all these other financial instruments. We're going to have it's going to be an ugly payback when. And I believe it with your friend. Mind you, let me ask you a question. Did you ever meet a guy in Chicago, Gregory Hunt III? Worked at
no, but was he one of the Hunt brothers from the Squeeze in the 70s?
Gregory Hunt, he worked at Revco.
Oh, okay.
He was a top trader at Revco. He was the one that when his uncles, it was his uncle, he was trading for his uncles. He was the one putting the trades through.
Okay. All right.
And he fought the SEC for a better part of a decade on that. It wasn't pleasant for him. Anyways, I was pals with him. I just thought maybe you might have known him.
Yeah. Well, it's really
Sorry to go answer your question. There's going to be a huge insurgence in the price for silver, and I think you're going to see some powerful, ridiculous moves. Will it be somebody's? You got to look to. Is that I firmly believe that the Chinese have been buying up the gold and buying up the silver. We know clearly that in the last 7 to 8 months, the Chinese have, well, let's just go back 1 year. Last December, China quit with JP Morgan being the lead broker on this, purchased like over 100,000 or more tons of nickel, leaving roughly 29,000 tons in the LME warehouse. Almost cleaned it out. And then at that point, nickel shot up to $8. We're about 720-ish now. So we've gone from eight in last December down to 5 with the COVID crash.
Right.
We're up to 720 now. What's also interesting to note, and this is a big picture, sorry to answer your question, but in the course of the last 8 months, China has purchased and taken delivery of 2 million tons of copper. That is a whole world global production
For a year?
For a year.
Okay.
Right, and there's a debate. We'll have to wait to the numbers, but we should produce between 1.9 and 2.2 million tons of copper this year. COVID-related guesstimates make it harder. But what your listeners might follow on this is that we've just finished China's last 5-year plan. They come out with every 5 years they have a 5-year plan, and it's a significant catalyst in the world sector. For many years, you'd wait for these 5 years. Last time it was they're going to let you have more than one child, and one of the things that one stocks that went berserk were baby formula stocks went berserk. Okay, so now we should have already had that disclosure of this coming 5-year plan. What's their master plan, literally, and that would be they've had some congresses there, and they've let some things slip, and what they've let slip is that they're stockpiling. Okay, folks, they're stockpiling. They almost cleaned out all the nickel in the world. They've just basically bought all the copper in the world. I'm not saying you should panic, but you should be very clued into what's going down.
Why are they doing that? To prepare for war?
Well, I mean, is there any other conclusion? You got to let's look at the history here. They took back Hong Kong. They took back Macau. They just finished taking over the South China Sea. That was part of the last 5-year plan, FYI.
Right.
And Taiwan, they let it slip that they used some words that pissed people off. Excuse my French, but they say basically telegraphing to the world that we're going to have unification with Taiwan. Now, unification is because Taiwan doesn't want to unify with you. How's it going to happen? So
I've read some esoteric cycle guys last year actually that called the COVID problem and civil unrest and stuff in the U.S. actually thinks there could be a war with China this April.
Well, that's what they basically telegraphed. It's not like they snuck up on you. They went, "Hey, we bought up all the nickel.
No matter who
bought up all the copper."
Yeah. So and that's for ammo, right? That's for munitions. Okay. They also bought up all the grain. They've been stockpiling wheat and beans and
food. They've been stockpiling food.
And they've been rehearsing their population to eat less. I forgot what they call it, clean plate type of thing, where they're feeding them less, kind of like a soft famine. So I hope you're wrong, and I hope the other guy's wrong. And but you know what? We got to talk to each other, and I know you've had a long storied career. I could tell by talking to you, Greg. But this has never happened to you before. Do you know what it is?
What is it?
You're my trading warrior brother now.
Well, thank you, sir.
Anyway, what's I have to wrap it up, but there's a
Okay.
nickel. And the best way for people to follow you is on Twitter. Is that the
Yeah,
only way?
I'm on Twitter at Stocks Shaman. Also, Greg Shafrasky on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I have a reason. Well, the exciting thing for me, this is somewhat exciting. I was voted by miningtechnology.com one of the biggest influencers in battery minerals in Q3 2020. Top individuals and companies to follow. I was number 3. I got in the medal round. I'm number 3 out of 10.
Wow.
Got in the medal round. I mean, come on, I got on the podium.
Yeah, they need veterans like us, man.
Yeah, somebody's got to know
people
something.
that remember something besides a bull market and stocks.
There's
other things going on.
Thanks so much for having me. I wish I had some more graphics to share with you. I know I was watching the other guys.
We'll do this. We'll do this another time, buddy. How's that sound?
Thanks so very much.
All right, everyone. That you were listening to Greg Shafrasky.
That's right.
Stock Shaman. And remember, don't just count your minerals, count your blessings. And we'll see everyone for Turnaround Tuesday tomorrow. You're very welcome, Jane, Richard. People liked you. I'm going to bring you back, buddy.
All righty then.
All right, you're going to do a return. You're going to do another concert. All right? Take it easy, Greg.
Thanks a lot. You as well. Blessings.
See everyone tomorrow. Adios.